From the outset, I'll just let you know now that I'm harbouring a particularly nasty cold at the minute. So sorry if I look and sound even worse than you're all used to. Appreciate your time this morning, folks. We'll try not to take too much of your time up. We always try and get these done kind of early before opening time or before you go about your business for the day. I'm delighted today to be joined by Ryan Miskimmon and Ian Fraser, head of sales and retention and corporate sales manager, respectively, from Power.NI, and also by Gordon Harvey, HU's in-house energy specialist, and a face I'm sure you know if you've been about this game for any length of time. We're here to talk today around the EBRS, the Energy Bill Relief Scheme. We're going to try our best to give you as much detail as we currently have. Try and fill you in on everything we currently know from talking to the gents from Power.NI over the last couple of days. There's obviously still details to be ironed out and things to be finalised, but we'll try and give you our very best of what we do know. Also want to talk just about a lot of conversations we've been having in the office and with members over the past few weeks is what you can do practically to try and save those little 1% everywhere. And a lot of those 1% add up to fairly significant savings. And we have kind of a case study or two and a few things to kind of talk about there to see how best we can kind of help as things are fairly difficult right now. I should also say before we get started that Hospitality Ulster is obviously here for anything else that you've got going on. You just need to lift the phone to us in the office or drop us an email, get in touch via any of our social channels, and we're there for that kind of one-on-one representation and any advice that we can find you and give you. For those who don't know me, I'm Joel Neal, Operations Director with the organisation, and I'll be one of the voices on the phone if you were to ring the office. So I'll stop rambling now. Again, Ryan and Ian, grateful for you giving up your time to come on and talk about this. I think we've assembled the best experts we could possibly find to try and keep the industry informed. If you don't mind, I'm going to start from the very start. The Energy Bill Relief Scheme, known as the EBRS. I don't know whether this should be directed at maybe Ryan. Could you tell me, first of all, I think just what it is, what you know so far?
Yeah, so look, it's a UK government relief scheme to really try and help and support customers and insulate them from what we're seeing in regards to significant increases in wholesale gas and energy prices, really. And it's really effective for customers from the 1st of October for 6 months from that point. And we've got a working date on our end, really. We'd like to try and see this on customers' bills from November forward, backdated to that October start date.
And who does the EBRS actually apply to? If you're watching in our industry, who's
so look, it applies to all businesses, charities, public sector organisations. So any customer really who has a variable product with their supplier, this will apply to, and any customer who has taken a fixed product from their supplier, but it has to be agreed after the 1st of December, and the UK government has determined that prior to that there wouldn't be a requirement because where energy prices have moved to really from that point is where we're seeing that massive increase.
And I should just pause briefly, folks. If you're watching along here this morning, if you're on Zoom on your desktop, you'll see a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. If you're on mobile, you'll see it in your menu. Please do feel free to fire me any questions that you have for any of the gents on the panel today. We, for obvious reasons, can't sit here and discuss your individual circumstances with regard to your own bills and whatever else. But anything around sort of government help and any issues, that's the code, sorry, that are pertinent to your own business and anything else that we can help with, please start firing your questions in now, and we'll just get to those as we continue. Look, we know every pound's a prisoner right now, so I guess the big question: how much support is the government actually giving for the EBRS?
So probably just to try and give a bit of context in really in regards to how this actually is going to work. So there's for your members, they'll have two main components in their energy bill. They're going to have a pass-through component, which is your network charges, etc., and there's going to be that wholesale sort of energy cost element as well. So what is in scope is that energy cost element, and what has been agreed is that it will be capped to £211 per megawatt hour. So if the markets were to rise above that level, then the UK government will give the difference back to wherever the market settles at, to that £211 per megawatt hour. That difference is what the support will be provided for.
The actually availing of the scheme then, is there a lot of paperwork involved? Is there an application process, or is there kind of an automatic trigger? How will a business know?
So in fact, this is quite simple from your members' perspective, Joel. There's actually nothing that they need to do. It's all going to be administered through Power NI. There's nothing that is required. They will see the discounts on their bills, hopefully from November forward, to that £211, like I was suggesting.
And how long would the scheme be lasting?
So it lasts for 6 months. So recently in the media, and the Chancellor's announcement has no impact at all on this particular scheme. The announcement really made a difference really for domestic customers, where that was changed from a 2-year period to 6 months, where there's been no changes on the non-domestic side. So that all remains intact.
Okay. Are there any circumstances by which that it would be more beneficial for businesses not to avail of this scheme? Obviously, Power NI has been in the news this week with regard to reductions and stuff. Will there be circumstances where it doesn't actually trigger because a business is actually availing of a discount that keeps them below the cap?
Well, that's probably part of that prior to December. If you're on a variable position, the chances are that you will be required to avail of the cap at some point. Okay. Now we are so probably just a caveat that, to be fair. So we're halfway through October. The day ahead market is settling less than £211 per megawatt. It's actually settling around that 150, 160 pound a megawatt. What we're experiencing at the minute, if you walk outside, is pretty high wind, and wind helps suppress the energy price. So we're in that 150, 160 zone. That's less than £211 per megawatt. So it actually doesn't trigger support from the scheme, but what it does do for all those variable customers, it further will see a reduction in their wholesale energy costs. So it means that you're better off, I suppose, than where you would be if energy was to settle, higher than that sort of benchmark and that threshold of the £211 when the scheme kicks in.
And
sorry, Joel, can I just come in on that?
Certainly.
I've got a chart here that may be of some benefit just to view, just to put it into context, just the levels that Ryan's talking about there. One of the things was certainly, as I try and move on to my share screen. Oh, sorry, Joel, are you able to enable me to share a screen here?
That should be you now.
As Ryan will know, I'm a great person for charts. So tell me if you can see that now.
Well played. You did well under pressure there.
So look, this is, Ryan mentioned the day ahead market. Without getting into technicalities, this is where all suppliers on Northern Ireland and on the island of Ireland go and purchase their electricity from. So this chart is pretty much just showing you where the energy is traded, really since the inception back in 2018. But the key point is this sort of period here, really this year, really since February this year. We all know what happened then. But obviously this scheme, since the inception of the scheme, came as a result of this big move here that you can see, which took us up to August, where really it looked as though energy costs were going to go off, we're rising to astronomical levels. Subsequent to the government announcement, or just as a result and part of everything that was on within the market, we've seen the energy costs collapse quite significantly. They've still got a bit further to go for us all, but in Ryan's point, this level here is a sort of 211 mark, where the government intervention steps in. We are trading below that at the moment. So as a result, you won't see any subsidy or rebate appearing in your invoices if the market was to close at these levels for the month. Clearly, we move into winter periods. We'd love to see this chart continue this trajectory, but it feels unlikely that it will. But I just wanted to put that up there, Joel, just so you can see just the sort of levels that the market has been trading at.
Oh, very helpful, Ian. Thank you. And again, folks, I invite your questions for any of the gents here today. And before I maybe move on to speak to Gordon, just about sort of more practical steps that you can be doing in the interim. I hope you don't mind, gents. I've got a question in from Eamon McCusker saying he's currently out of contract as his contract ended a few months ago. Is there advice for someone who is currently out of contract?
Yeah, my advice is to try and work with your energy supplier, and I look to move to an in-contracted position if at all possible. Again, what has happened in the market, what we've seen because of the volatility, the product offering has changed. A lot of suppliers will be offering a variable product as opposed to customers sort of falling out of a fixed position historically. But no, my advice would be to work with your energy supplier and look to move yourself into your contracted position to try and get some further discounts, really, if at all possible, if they're available to you. Like anything on these variable schemes, like I said, that £211 a megawatt cap is there to insulate you. So anything you can do to try and support with percentage discounts off elements of that, then certainly I would look to do that. I think that's a wise step.
Thank you, Ryan. And folks, please do just fire away any questions that you have. Gordon, if you don't mind, I'll bring you in. Gordon Harvey has been an HE energy specialist and much more to Hospitality Ulster for a very long time. So it's fairly staggering, actually. This was sent across to me a number of days ago. We took the case study of a food pub just outside, well, just in Belfast city centre, to be honest, and through a number of kind of practical measures that were taken and a bit of assessment on the way that the premises was being operated, a look at the processes and procedures. They've managed to come out with a 20% energy saving compared to the same period in 2021. And I know that a lot of these items and a lot of these discussion points were kind of your brainchild, to be honest. It's a lot of tips and tricks that are yours, Gordon. So I wonder if you can maybe give me a rundown and have a chat through the kind of practical steps and interventions that businesses should be taking, or even just the things that they should be looking at to try and save those little percentages here and there, which then add up to a significant saving.
Thank you, Joel. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, well, I mean, I was delighted to see this report checklist. 20% saving is significant, especially with the cost of energy currently. But it's not magic. It's just simple hard work, getting down to the nitty-gritty, understanding what your tariff is, knowing what it is in the first place, and then understanding it. And knowing what you're using, when you're using it, and why you're using it. And it's just a matter of a hard slog going through everything that you have in your premises that consumes electricity, knowing what its rate of consumption is, knowing when it's on and for how long it's on, and whether it needs to be on, and then simply looking at things like your operating times, maximizing your opening times to get the best income, and looking at possibly closing down at times that it's just uneconomic to operate. Now, bear in mind, your competitors are facing the same problem, so it's not like you're giving trade away. In terms of looking at your tariff, especially, I think Ian mentioned it, we're coming into those on multi-rate tariffs or seasonal time of day tariff, are coming into the winter rate from the 1st of November, and that runs through November, December, January, and February. And that means you will be paying an astronomical unit cost between 4 and 7 p.m. Monday to Friday. Now, I discount Fridays because they're busy days and you're going to get the custom. But Mondays through Thursday, if you're not getting the business, you have to see what you have on. Dishwashers, glass washers, big energy consumers, do they need to be on between 4 and 7? Stack up your glasses, stack up your dishes, and then switch them back on at 7 o'clock and fire everything through. That's the sort of small detail, but it'll have a big impact because the unit cost of energy on those peak times is massively higher than your other times. I would suggest that people look at the refrigeration in particular. That is something that runs 24/7, 365 days a year. It's always on. And we have a tendency to have back bar display fridges in pubs and restaurants. They're very pretty. Customer can see the stock. They're illuminated. Everything's very fine. But they're next to useless pieces for their thermal efficiency. Your cold room is highly efficient. It's a large block of insulation, which will keep product at the right temperature for the minimum amount of energy cost. But your back bar fridges are an ambient, heated temperature environments where the customers are. They have a thin glass frontage, they have thin walls and sides, and they leak the cold. So they're constantly working to keep product cold. If you've ever been to a bar on the continent, they don't have them. They have big, proper insulated refrigeration units behind the bar with closed doors. You can't see any stock. And the other thing to remember about chilled stock, such as bottled beers and mixers and so on, is the customer, they don't need to be refrigerated to keep them in shelf life terms. They only need to be chilled when it's going to the customer's lips. So look at putting your fridges, back bar fridges, onto timers so that they're only cooling down stock when you need them. Take the stock out, put it in your cold room and transfer it straight back in before you open. Reduce the number of fridges you're using so you're moving less stock. And bear in mind that, you know, the full bar of stock isn't going to get sold first in the first hour of opening.
It's something you said to me yesterday, Gordon, and I should caveat that by saying that the advice from drink suppliers is obviously not to turn off your cold room, but with regard to fridges, etc., actually in the bar back, it's a whole different story. And something you said to me on the phone last night, Gordon, the product doesn't have to be cold whenever it's in storage; it just needs to be cold whenever it's in the customer's mouth. So it's these kinds of very simple things that, and it's natural, obviously, that you maybe don't always take a step back and look at your processes and how you operate. And excuse me, sorry. And even another example that you mentioned last night, which is very true. You know, it's an old, almost traditional thing at this point that you get into a kitchen of a morning whenever you're opening up and the gas rings go on to heat the kitchen up. These are the kind of old practices that, unfortunately, because of the current economy and whatever we're looking at, that you maybe need to assess. The document that's been put together, which is really, I have to say, you know, Gordon's knowledge and specialty from having a fairly decorated career in the industry. We're going to be putting that on the Hospitality Ulster website today, which sort of itemizes all of the steps that were made to accumulate this 20% saving. Gordon, if there's one or two things, though, say somebody doesn't have the time to sit down and do the homework, where are the kind of biggest squeezes? Where are the easiest wins here in terms of making a saving?
Oh, as I said, the glass washer, the dishwasher, the coffee machine, big high energy consumers. If you don't have the time to go and check the consumption label on the back of every piece of equipment, you can ask your supplier what the energy rating of a piece of equipment is. They'll give you that. And then it's just a matter of, you know, if it's like an electric kettle, it's 3 kilowatts, basically. If it's on for an hour, it's burning 3 units of electricity. It's that simple. It's just arithmetic. It's multiplying the consumption by the amount of time it's on. And I mean, on the checklist that you sent me through, Joel, you know, the coffee machine goes on first thing in pubs so that staff can get their morning cups of coffee. Now, boiling kettle is going to be quicker than getting the coffee machine up and running, and a lot cheaper over the time. I mean, this doesn't have to be for the rest of our lives. Hopefully, prices are going to start falling. I think both Ian and Ryan will expect a fall probably in the next 12 to 18 months, hopefully, and we'll start to see this easing back. So these are temporary steps. And as I said, your competitors in the exact same boat. Everybody's paying more or less the same for their energy. There are no quick wins in energy pricing. It's just a matter of getting your consumption at the time of day that best suits your business and best suits your tariff.
As I say, we will follow up today. That document will be available on the Hospitality Ulster website. It may sound trivial whenever you take any of these kind of items in isolation, but the accumulation of a 20% saving versus the same time last year, to be honest, I was staggered by it. And it sort of runs down through. And this is a real life case study of a food pub, a busy food pub in Belfast. Folks, I'll invite your questions just one last time. Make sure while you've got the chance, while you've got this these gentlemen captive, that you ask anything that you would like. We'll be closing up fairly soon. We don't like to keep you on for too long. I know that there's plenty of work for everybody to be doing today. If you don't mind, Ian or Ryan, you know, Gordon sort of makes a valid point there. You know, none of this lasts forever, and I don't want to put you on the spot, and feel free to bounce me, but do you have an indication of kind of forecast? Do you see where the market goes over the next 12 months, 24 months, or is that staring into the crystal ball stuff?
I don't mean.
Go ahead.
You all right? Okay, I'll take it.
Sorry.
I look. I think everyone knows what the challenges are with forecasting. The one thing that we can hang our hat on for the island of Ireland, and we've got to remember that it is a different marketplace to GB. And over the past number of months, we have been trading a bit lower than the GB market, significantly lower than the GB market. So bear that in mind. The Irish marketplace, the all island market, there's a huge amount of renewable energy is fed into the network, and that does have a material impact on prices. So as Ryan said, it is a bit milder out there. We are seeing strong wind generation, and that is having a direct impact on our prices. So in terms of forecasting, all suppliers spend, as well as the network spends, considerable sums of money in terms of weather forecasting. There's an expectation this could be a milder winter than is traditionally normal. So we'll take that. If we see a bit of a pickup in wind, then yeah, we would look for prices to soften. But look, we all know the geopolitical landscape that we're dealing with, and in terms of as a business, we are prepared for, and we are going through a significant program of winter preparedness as an entity and to support our customers. And it's around making sure that if we call it wrong, and prices do start moving higher, that we are there to support, particularly our vulnerable customers. I'm moving more into the domestic space, but we've got to be very conscious of that. So that's like, I'm not gonna. I'd love to give a prediction, but I personally, I'd be anticipating prices going up and looking for the government support scheme to come in and to provide that level of support. I think it's there for a reason, and that's where we should take our comfort from. Just going back on a point that Gordon was saying about, all those, incremental savings on energy consumption, focus on the energy consumption as opposed to pound, shilling and pence saving, because the pound, shilling and pence savings can be very hard to quantify versus last year's pricing. Power NI do administrate a number of funds and schemes to local government under the title of NICEP. So it's Northern Ireland Sustainable Energy Programme. I'll put a link on the site so you can see it. So there's a couple of things on there. There's LED schemes, there's grant funding available for that. And there's also another scheme there where Power NI has a scheme where we provide something called lighting as a service. So essentially you put in a new LEDs in your business, and that's funded either through CapEx or through your invoicing with ourselves. But I'll put that link on just so you can see it. But yeah, just to labour Gordon's point, it's just making sure nothing is on unless it's absolutely necessary to be on.
Thank you. A couple of questions that have come in, and maybe linked to, excuse me, sorry, what I asked previously. Is there an indication as to what the unit cost per kilowatt hour charge from October will be, and is it going to increase over the next 6 months, or again, is that not hard to predict?
I'll take this one. Yeah. So there is probably a range we would probably see. So probably try and bring this back to most of your members will be on the quarterly tariffs, I would assume, and most of them then, if they're Power NI customers, will be on what we call our energy price adjustment tariff, which is our variable tariff. Mm-hmm. So we most recently went through a resetting of the bar in regards to energy price adjustment and reforecast off that. That reforecasting piece would have had our wholesale energy cost over £300 a megawatt hour moving into the winter period. And we reset our prices for a typical, what we call a popular customer, which would be like a 24-hour meter, at about 55 pence per kilowatt hour. So with the government scheme bringing that back down to £211 per megawatt hour, you're going to be seeing 10-15p off that. Where prices are settling now, you're probably going to really be in the land of something beginning with a 3 as opposed to a 5. So just to give ballparks. So it is a significant reduction. There's no getting away from that. And it's obviously very welcome for everyone and all businesses within Northern Ireland.
Appreciate that, Ryan. Thank you. Another one from John Lavery, and it may be outside of the realms of Power NI, and I might have to put you on the spot, Gordon, here, but a forecast for gas, is there any indication?
No. I mean, just to go back to Ian's comments about the renewable energy content of the all Ireland market is significant, but the problem is that the renewable energy is linked to the gas price, because gas was always a constant energy cost and a low cost prior to the the invasion of Ukraine, and unless we decouple the renewable energy costs from the gas price costs, all costs will remain high. I know the European Union is making some moves to see if they can decouple the renewable energy price from price of gas, but that's beyond me. But I think as long as we still have this Ukrainian situation and the winter in Europe, we were talking about our winter being milder, but the winters in Europe, especially Central and Eastern Europe, it can be very cold, and that's where the gas consumption starts heading upwards in a big way, which will drive costs up.
Yeah, probably just to come in on that.
Certainly.
Joel. So the way in which the single electricity market works is that it's what's known as the marginal plant or marginal technology sets the price. So essentially what happens is you put, the network operators will put on all of the renewables, first of all, because they are the cheapest. In fact, they are basically free to put up, to turn on and to put on, and then it moves through then different technologies. And essentially, whenever the wind doesn't blow or demand is high, you will have thermal generation setting the plant, which is typically in the end of Ireland gas-powered power stations. Gas-fired power stations, and obviously they're having to burn gas, which gas is now trading 400, 500, 600 pence a therm. Whenever 18, 24 months ago it was trading at 50 pence a therm. So what is driving the cost up significantly is that gas piece, not so much the renewables, but it is the gas piece that is driving the overall cost, because that sets the price for the entire market whenever demand is higher. And it's outstripping what we can provide the market from a renewables generation perspective.
Thanks, Ryan. And another sort of element, I guess, to energy. Obviously, we're very aware that a lot of our members use oil. We're engaged sort of at the highest level of government to look at how that's delivered and how best to help you. And to be honest, the indication is we're making progress. But if anybody has been on the internet or turned on a TV over the past couple of days, the wheels could yet again fall off that wagon, because simply the people that we're speaking to might not be there in a week or two. And that is the joy of trying to engage with government at the minute. We don't have one here, and the one across the water is in utter turmoil, but we're making those representations and trying our very best with what we've got right now. And obviously, if the situation was to change, we'd be straight on to whoever comes next. Also worth noting that on hospitalityulster.org, if you remember, we currently have a heat and oil buying group, which was established and set up just about a month ago, with some fairly significant savings there for your heat and oil. I'll give you one last chance, folks. If you want to get some questions into the gentlemen, I don't want to take up too much of your time past 10:30, and we're already on half. A note from Paul Clancy, the Chief Executive of VFI, the Vintners Federation of Ireland, our friends down south. Many thanks for the excellent tips. VFI members in ROI are experiencing all the same issues. Keep up with the excellent work at HU, and 20 quid in the post to you for that, Paul. Thank you very much. Folks, my Q&A is currently clear. Gordon, would you like to come in?
Joel, yes, I just wanted to add photovoltaic panels or solar panels. Now, some premises are probably very suitable for looking at those, and I know that Hospitality Ulster and Colin was working on some sort of help on that one. But any form of self-generation is going to be of benefit. At the moment, you'll get a better payback initially with while the costs are high. But when costs eventually start dropping back, you're still going to have a fairly lengthy payback period. But at least you will always have some form of energy being generated, if you like, free of charge. Not sure what Power NI are paying for customers who are putting energy back into the grid, but you can look at battery storage as well if you don't want to do that. But there are some alternatives out there which require long-term thinking and capital expenditure, yes, but it's becoming a little bit more realistic.
And there are alternative energy options on the Hospitality Ulster website for anyone that's interested in that. There's a solar and battery storage solution. And also, as we move towards kind of more and more electric cars in the market, we've partnered with Weave in Ireland, who provide charge points, etc. So if you are a Hospitality Ulster member, I do recommend you hit hospitalityulster.org and click the support button. You'll see our range of accredited suppliers, our industry partners, along with all of your downloadable documents, including today's, as I say, the case study, which amounted to a 20% saving. I'll get to it in an hour or two, but I'll put a button on the front page of the website, so that's nice and easy for you to find. Also, if you check your chat there, Ian's kind enough to have dropped in the link to energy saving products from PowerNI, so please check that out. And one last question, folks, and we'll wrap it up. Are there likely to be any grants available for the installation of renewables? Can anyone take that, or am I putting you all on the spot with that?
I think in that one, we're going to be waiting for government policy to change, and that's more than likely going to come from a local assembly. Would be my steer on it, unless there's something. I was about to say something radical from the UK government, but I think radical is maybe a word that's no longer in the lexicon. So we'll wait something local. But yeah, just one final point.
Certainly.
Before you wrap up, Joel, I would just a call to everybody. Maintain, in a time like this, maintain good relationships with your suppliers, not just energy, the wider business, but also just if you are finding, for whatever reason, difficulties, cash flow, etc., just reach out to your supplier, whoever they are. And it's like all of this stuff, early engagement is always far easier, much more appreciated with suppliers. And other than that, I'll wrap up and I'll just say, wish you all a good festive period.
That's the first time I've heard that this year. Thanks for that. As if this cold wasn't bad enough. Folks, listen, thank you for your time this morning. Hopefully you got something out of that, and you know that Hospitality Ulster are on the other end of the phone. I can put you in touch with Gordon. I can ask for further information from the gents at PowerNI. And just, can I say, very grateful to all three of you, Ryan, Ian and Gordon, for giving up your time and giving us your kind of insight and expertise this morning. So folks, listen, have a great day. Keep in touch with us, and we'll speak to you all very soon. Thank you very much.